here we are, Caitlin Clark, the only WNBA player ever to be on a global 2K cover. Yeah, we've had the Angel Reeses of the past and the Asia Wilsons and Sabrina and Diana Turner. That was the WNBA edition. That was the edition that nobody wanted. But Caitlin Clark's on the deluxe edition. That means if you want the deluxe edition and all of the perks that come with it, you're getting a game with Caitlin Clark on the cover.
Clark is your NBA 2K27 Deluxe Edition cover athlete. I can tell you right now, people will be buying this just to set it up somewhere. Not even play it, but just put it on display. Probably me to put it right back here. I'll put this up in the backdrop. That's freaking cool.
On July 22nd, 2K Sports finally dropped the covers for NBA 2K27, and within minutes, the internet basically split in half. Victor Wembanyama got the standard edition. Derrick Rose, the former MVP, got the limited time Ultra edition. And then there was the deluxe edition, the one that actually made headlines everywhere. And it wasn't Aya Wilson standing there. It wasn't Angel Reese. It wasn't Sabrina Ionescu, the sharpshooter who's been building her own brand for years. It was Caitlin Clark, the Indiana Fever guard, becoming the first WNBA player in the history of the franchise to get her own solo global premium cover, standing shoulder to shoulder with a generational big man and a former league MVP, like she belonged there the whole time.
On the latest edition of NBA 2K, and we're talking about 2K27. And I know there's going to be a lot of hating going on today. But guess what? We don't care because we the biggest. We the biggest that ever stepped foot into women's basketball. And that's just a fact. And I know a lot of y'all going to be mad. I already know what some of y'all going to say. And I just told you, we had to be delayed. And you know how that goes because, once again, we got to give some.
For context, this isn't some small regional promo deal. NBA 2K covers have gone to LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, and Kevin Durant over the years. It's one of the most visible pieces of real estate in all of sports gaming, plastered on storefronts, billboards, and every gaming outlet's homepage the moment it drops. And for the first time ever, a woman is standing on that cover alone, not as a bonus mode character, not tucked into a WNBA-only spinoff, but front and center on the Deluxe Edition next to two of basketball's biggest current names. It's worth remembering that video game cover athletes have historically doubled as a kind of unofficial power ranking for who's actually running basketball culture at any given moment. And that's exactly why this feels so loaded right now.
Oh God, Caitlin Clark is on the cover of NBA 2K27, ladies and gentlemen. And all the haters like, there's other players that could have been there. Asia Wilson should have been there. Shut the fuck up. They had their chance to put Asia or somebody else last season, and they wasted it on the bricklaying slop. Shut the fuck up. Clark, right where she belongs, the face of the league, the most electrifying. Now NBA 2K, y'all about to sell record copies because the bricklayer wasn't about to bring y'all what y'all needed in the attention, but now you got the most electrifying, the biggest star ever in women's basketball on the cover of NBA 2K.
Now, if you've been anywhere near WNBA Twitter or TikTok this week, you already know the reaction wasn't universal celebration. A lot of fans and outlets called it fitting, honestly overdue given the attention she's dragged into this league all year. But underneath that, there's a quieter, uglier current running through locker rooms and group chats, and it's the same question that's been simmering for 2 years now. Why her? Why does the player who's only played 3 seasons keep getting the biggest stage, while players with rings and MVP trophies get left holding a mic and a hashtag?
You're just going to have to call me a hater at this point. Caitlin is going to be on the new 2K27 video game, and I think at this point, the powers that be, the people who invested in Caitlin being the best, they want their goddamn money. They said, I don't care if she don't play defense. I don't care if she's the floppingest flopper of the century. I don't care. Run me my money. It's almost like the WNBA went on Shark Tank and all of the investors were like, long as it's Caitlin, we'll give you this money. And then they realize, ooh, doesn't look like it's going to be Caitlyn. Make it her. You're going to have to make it her.
Because let's be honest about what Aja Wilson has actually done. Multiple MVPs, multiple championships with Las Vegas. She said it herself more than once in interviews and post-game pressers that she's the face of this league, and on paper you could build a pretty solid argument for that. Rings usually mean something. Trophies usually mean something. So when a video game cover of all things goes to someone who hasn't won a title yet, you can understand why that stings a little if you're sitting in Wilson's shoes watching it happen on your timeline. She spent years putting up historic numbers, carrying Las Vegas to back-to-back championships, and doing all the media rounds that come with being a two-time finals MVP. From her perspective, that's supposed to be the resume that gets you the biggest cover in basketball gaming.
Caitlin Clark's NBA 2K27 cover represents a much bigger milestone than it might initially seem. On Wednesday, it was announced that Clark is on the cover of the NBA 2K27's Deluxe Edition. First glance, this might just seem like another WNBA player landing on the cover of an NBA 2K game, which is something that Candace Parker, Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi, Angel Reese, Sabrina Ionescu, and Asia Wilson have all done in the past. But Clark's cover this year is actually different. All those previous players appeared on the game's WNBA Edition cover, which is a separate version of NBA 2K entirely and focuses specifically on the WNBA. But Clark is on the Deluxe Edition, which is one of the three main flagship copies of the game that's sold globally alongside the Standard and the Ultra Edition. In other words, this is the first time a WNBA player has been one of the three main flagship NBA 2K covers, and that's a significant distinction. It shows that NBA 2K isn't just marketing Clark to WNBA fans, it shows that they're making her a face of the entire 2K franchise, both NBA and WNBA. That's what makes it such a big win, not just for Caitlin Clark, but for the visibility of women's basketball as a whole.
But here's where the conversation needs to actually get honest instead of comfortable. Because being the best player and being the face of a league have never been the same job. And anyone in sports marketing will tell you that in about 10 seconds flat, NBA 2K covers don't go to whoever has the most hardware sitting in their trophy case. They go to whoever moves units, whoever gets a teenager in Manila or a grandmother in Iowa to actually care about a basketball video game they'd otherwise never touch. And right now, globally, there is exactly one WNBA player doing that at scale, and it isn't close.
New York Liberty versus Indiana Fever game on CBS is now the second most watched WNBA game since 2000. Since 2000, averaging 2.579 million viewers, peaking at 3 million viewers. 3 million viewers for Caitlin Clark. Who else in this league getting 3 million viewers? Is it Asia Wilson? No. Is it Olivia Miles? I love her game. No. Is it Paige Beckers getting 3 million viewers? No. Only the GOAT Caitlin Clark can do this.
Look at the actual television numbers from this season alone, because the numbers don't have an opinion. They just sit there and tell you what happened. Clark's July 12th matchup against the Las Vegas Aces pulled an average audience of 2.64 million viewers across NBC and Peacock, peaking at 2.8 million. That made it the most watched WNBA regular season game of all of 2026, and the most watched WNBA regular season Sunday broadcast since 1998, before most people watching this video were even born. And that game wasn't even a playoff matchup or a nationally hyped rivalry night circled on the calendar months in advance. It was a regular Sunday afternoon that turned into a television event purely because her name was on the floor. Compare that to how these decisions used to get made even 5 years ago, when WNBA players barely got mentioned in NBA 2K's marketing at all, let alone handed a solo cover slot on a premium tier. The fact that this is even a controversy rather than a complete non-event shows how far the league's visibility has come in a short window, even if the credit for that jump is getting distributed unevenly among the players themselves.
USA Sports coverage of Valkyrie's Fever last Wednesday, July 15th, is its most watched WNBA game on record, averaging 1.14 million viewers, up 172%. Versus last season's average WNBA cable viewership. Caitlin Clark up 172%. And y'all want to keep running around pretending like this person's the face, that person's the face. How ironic is it? Like the highest 4 or 5 viewed games all season is all involving Caitlin Clark.
And it wasn't a one-off. When Clark came back from a 2-week absence, that return game alone set a completely separate record, pulling 1.04 million viewers across USA Network and CNBC, the largest late-night regular season audience in the history of the league. Not her career, not this season, the entire history of the WNBA. That's the kind of number a marketing department at 2K Sports simply cannot ignore when they're deciding who sells the most copies of a video game nobody was forced to buy. Advertisers don't chase trophies. They chase eyeballs, and right now, Clark is delivering eyeballs at a rate this league has genuinely never seen before. Not even during its biggest previous stars' primes.
Caitlin Clark just had 45 points, 10 assists, and 4 steals. The first WNBA player in history to have a 40-point, 10-assist game. The game was so good that she also got into some NBA lore. This is every NBA and WNBA player to have a 45-point, 10 assists, and 85 true shooting game. Dame did it 3 times. That's insane. Jokic, Trae Young, Harden, Steph, and now Caitlin Clark.
And she backed all of that noise up on the actual court too, which matters, because a cover athlete who's only good for ratings and not good for basketball tends to age badly fast. Clark dropped a franchise record 45 points in a single game this season, adding 10 assists on top of it, the first 40-point, 10-assist stat line in the history of the WNBA. 40 and 10. Nobody, not Wilson, not Reese, not anybody wearing a jersey in this league right now has ever put up a stat line like that in a single game. Ever. That's not hype. That's a box score sitting permanently in the record books next to her name that nobody can spin away no matter how they feel about her marketing push. So when people ask why Clark and not Wilson, that box score right there is a big chunk of the answer, even before you get into ratings or jersey sales or ticket demand in every single road city she visits. Arenas that used to sell a few thousand tickets on a Tuesday night start scalping seats for hundreds of dollars the moment Indiana's schedule gets announced, purely because of one name on the roster.
Pretty much speaks for itself. She is the most recognizable face in the WNBA. And before people start saying this and that and the third, look, man, we can talk all the shit we want to, but the proof is in the pudding. If you look at all of the most televised and most watched games this year in the W right about now, and the ratings are going up and up and up and up, all of them involve Caitlin Clark. She is the common denominator in each and every last one of these games. Now, granted, each of those teams that we list right about now, the Atlanta Dream, the Dallas Wings, the Las Vegas Aces, New York Liberty, they all have superstars in their own right, and they're able to get ratings in their own right. But as far as peak raters, guess what? They all involve Caitlin Clark at this point. So let's just give credit what credit is due. We didn't have no damn problem when Angel Reese was the cover athlete last year. Let's not get our panties in a bunch this year, now that it's somebody else's turn. But I have zero problem with these, man. I think the NBA 2K crew got it right.
Now here's the part that really seems to be eating at some of her peers. And it's not really about basketball at all anymore. It's about reach. Because Clark isn't just a name inside the WNBA bubble the way most of these players are. She's recognized in NBA locker rooms. She's recognized by NBA players who don't even follow women's basketball closely. And that's not speculation. That's guys on record talking about her game with genuine respect. Steph Curry has publicly gone out of his way to praise her shooting range and her feel for the game, comparing the way defenses have to account for her the second she crosses half court to how defenses have to account for him. That's not a compliment NBA players hand out casually to just anybody. Other NBA names have echoed similar praise in interviews this year, pointing specifically to her range and her court vision as things that translate across any level of basketball, men's or women's. It's the same pattern you see in other sports whenever one athlete's popularity outpaces the collective mood of their peers. Tiger Woods dealt with quiet resentment inside golf for years for similar reasons, and Tom Brady heard versions of it his entire career too. Being the one who moves the needle the hardest almost always creates friction with teammates and rivals who feel their own achievements deserve equal billing. Basketball apparently isn't any different.
According to Tom Friend of the Sports Business Journal, Kathy Engelberg reportedly thought a suspension was too steep because a foul wasn't called live. But reportedly, Adam Silver saw clear evidence of a flagrant foul and urged Kathy Engelberg to act immediately. Now, the WNBA denies this account, but here's the part where the history matters in all of this. During Game 4 of the 2016 Finals, Draymond and LeBron James got tangled up on the floor. No flagrant foul was called live, but Adam Silver and the NBA reviewed it afterwards, assessing Draymond Green a flagrant foul 1, his 4th point, suspending him for Game 5 of the Finals. steals. Now look at Alyssa Thomas. No call was called live. No flagrant foul was called live. But then after the game, elevated to a flagrant foul penalty to a suspension as well as a $1,000 fine. Different league, different player, but striking similar process. But here's where things get even more interesting. According to this report, those closest to Kathy Engelberg believe that she was in an unenviable situation where she didn't want to show favoritism to Caitlin Clark and also didn't want to overlook the fact that players felt overshadowed by Caitlin Clark, which is where reportedly her hesitation came from. But Adam Silver reportedly also felt bad for Caitlin.
And then there's Adam Silver, the actual NBA commissioner, a man who technically has zero official authority over WNBA business, publicly wading into her corner more than once this season. Reports surfaced that Silver pushed WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert toward suspending Alyssa Thomas after that fist-to-the-throat incident against Clark. And when reporters pressed him on it, Silver didn't dodge the subject the way commissioners usually do. He came out and said Clark had become a bit of a political football in this country and called the treatment of her incredibly unfair. That's the head of the entire NBA publicly stepping into WNBA business to defend one specific player. That doesn't happen for Aja Wilson. It doesn't happen for Angel Reese. It happens for Caitlin Clark, and only Caitlin Clark, because Silver clearly understands exactly what she represents commercially for basketball as a whole, not just for one league. Silver has to answer to NBA owners and sponsors who are watching the same numbers everyone else is watching, and if Clark keeps being the biggest driver of crossover interest between the two leagues, expect him to keep speaking up whether Engelbert likes it or not. And that's really the tension sitting underneath this entire 2K cover story if you strip away all the noise. Aja Wilson has spent the better part of 2 seasons telling anyone who'll listen that she's the face of the league, backed by trophies that genuinely earn her the right to say that in a basketball sense. But the business of sports has never cared purely about who's the best player on the floor. It cares about who moves the needle outside the arena, and right now there's a gap between those two things that's wide enough for a commissioner from a completely different league to jump into and publicly take a side.
Whose tan and muscles did they put on that lady? Whose tan and muscles did they put on that lady? Her natural physique and skin tone would have worked just fine.
Some fans online have pushed back hard on the cover reveal itself, a few even throwing around allegations that Clark's cover art looked artificially generated or touched up compared to how Wembanyama and Rose were rendered. 2K hasn't addressed those claims directly, and there's no solid evidence behind them beyond people zooming into promotional images looking for something to be upset about. But the fact that people are already hunting for reasons to discredit the choice tells you how much this single decision has gotten under some people's skin in under 24 hours. When a cover reveal turns into a forensic investigation of pixel edges within hours of dropping, that's not a normal reaction to a video game announcement. That's a reaction to what the announcement represents.
I know damn well 2K ain't used ChatGPT to make these covers. They use ChatGPT to make these damn covers. All that money y'all got, y'all couldn't get a graphic designer, y'all couldn't do a photo shoot, y'all couldn't look at these goddamn covers. Look at them. You mean to tell y'all can't allocate no money to put some more work into making these covers look good? Y'all had to go do some AI bullshit? Some AI bull? Look at their faces. That don't even look like it. Look like a person that's supposed to be Caitlin Clark, but that does not look like Caitlin Clark.
Meanwhile, Sabrina Ionescu, who spent years building a reputation as one of the purest shooters the game has ever produced, and who has her own genuine global following through the three-point contest performances everybody remembers, barely gets mentioned in this conversation at all. And that's honestly the quietest snub in this whole story, because Ionescu has done real work building her own brand internationally, yet she's not even part of the debate people are having about who deserved this instead of Clark. It's basically become a two-name argument, Wilson against Clark, with everybody else standing on the sideline watching their own case get buried under the noise. Angel Reese, for her part, hasn't publicly commented on the cover directly, but given how vocal she's been about recognition all season, plenty of fans expect it's only a matter of time before she weighs in one way or another.
Is the WNBA's player of the week. And people are already upset talking about this person got robbed, that person got robbed, that person got robbed. Let me let y'all know a little secret, right? If y'all saying somebody got robbed, which 90% of their stats, 95% of their stats, 99% of their stats is just scoring the ball. But then somebody else stats, like Caitlin, hers is scoring the ball, assisting the ball, and even having rebounds. It's a big difference. Listen, that MVP, like I've been telling y'all before we played one dribble of basketball, that MVP is coming. What do you want?
There's also a generational split happening underneath all of this that doesn't get talked about enough. A lot of the players who came up through the league before the streaming boom built their reputations the old way, quietly, through box scores and championship runs that took years to build a following around. Clark skipped that entire slow build because college basketball, thanks to March Madness exposure, had already turned her into a national name before she ever put on a WNBA jersey. That head start is part of why the gap in reach feels so sudden and, to some of her peers, so unfair. So where does that leave Aja Wilson? Still the best two-way player in the league by most honest basketball measures, still stacking trophies, still absolutely capable of saying she's the best on paper and being completely correct about it, but best player and global face of basketball have split apart in a way that clearly frustrates her. And you can see it leaking out in interviews when the topic comes up, even when she tries to stay diplomatic about it on camera. It's a strange spot to be in, winning everything the sport can hand you and still watching someone else become the face plastered across every screen.